Hari Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta welcomes you all to session 16 of Atma Bodha. In today's session, we are taking up the last set of verses from 64 to 68. To explain the meaning of these verses, we have with us Dr. Ravi Shankar, Dr. Manjula Devi, Dr. Sundar, Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra, and Sri Rama. Dr. Hegde sir will moderate the session and with his expertise will drive home the deeper meanings of the verses. Last week, we discussed verses from 60 to 63. Let us have a brief recap of these verses before we take up today's verses. Next slide, sir. Verse 60. Verse 60 is 61, 62 or Brahma Lakshana shlokas, while 63 explains the relation between Brahman and the world. Let us briefly run through these verses. Next slide, sir. The essence of this shloka is that Brahman is free from all attributes. Ananuhu, Asthulam, Ahrisvam, Adirgham, Ajam, Avyayam. Anuhu means small, so Ananuhu means not a small thing. Immediately he says Asthulam, meaning it is not big also. Then he says Ahrisvam. It is not short, but he says Adirgham. It is not long also. Then Ajam, unborn, Avyayam, inexhaustible, Jararahitam, Nasharahitam, etc. Then Arupam, free from forms, or a better meaning is colorless. Aguna, Nirgunam, free from all attributes, both good and bad attributes, Sagunam and Durgunam. Then Avarna. Varna can be taken as Jati or any Varna classification. We can take the Chatur Varnyam itself. Then Anakhyam. Akhyam means Nama, that is name. So Anakhyam means it does not have a name also. Amatras Chaturtaha, Avyavaharyaha, Prapanchopashamaha, Shantaha, Shivaha, Advaitaha, Amatraha. So name is silence. It is Nama Rahitam. And it is this Brahman in which the Jivan Mukta merges into. Next slide, sir. Verse 61. Here, Brahma is defined as Swayam Prakasha Rupaha. And what is the definition of Swayam Prakasha? It is that because of which everything shines and that which does not shine because of anything else. Because of Brahman, the world shines and Brahman shines not because of anything else. Next slide, sir. So, Yad Bhasa, Yad Brahma Bhasa, because of whose light? Arkadi means Surya, Chandra, Nakshatrani, Vidyuta, Agnihi, Adipadat. Bhasyaihi, Yat na bhasyate. So, by these illuminated objects, Bhasyam, the illuminator Atma, is not illuminated. And Yena Sarvam Idam Bhati. Yena means Brahma Prakashena, Brahma Chaitanyena, Idam Sarvam Bhati. All these are illuminated. So the idea is this. The Chaitanyam illumines the sense organs. The sense organs illumine the world because through the senses organs only the world is illuminated. Hence, the ultimate illuminator of the world is Chaitanyam only. The difference is that Chaitanyam illumines sense organs directly, but it illumines the world indirectly through the sense organs. That is why it is repeated twice. Arkadi bhasyate and Yena Sarvam Idam Bhati. This Swayam Prakasha Chaitanyam is Brahma, which the Jivan Muktha merges into. We come to verse 62. The idea is he stated in the previous shloka is being put here in a different form. That is, Chaitanyam alone illumines everything, either directly or indirectly. And how do we know that Chaitanyam pervades? Whenever we say that something is known, it indicates the pervasion of Chaitanya, pervasion of consciousness. Next slide, sir. But the consciousness pervades in two ways. In the case of mind and sense organs, it pervades directly. When the mind goes to that object, through the mind, the Chaitanyam pervades the world. And therefore, Chaitanyam pervades the world indirectly. Thus, everything is pervaded by Sakshi Chaitanyam or Pramatra Chaitanyam. Sakshi Chaitanyam is direct. When we say Pramatra Chaitanyam, it is indirect. So, Swayam Antar Bahischa Vyapnoti, pervading both within and without. Akhilam Jagat Bhasyan Bhasayan. It illumines the whole universe, the internal subjective universe as well as the external objective universe. Brahma prakashate antar bahischa. Thus, Brahman shines both within and without. Next slide. He gives an example of pratapta ayasa pindavat, like the red hot iron ball. Normally, in a dark room, one cannot see an ordinary iron ball. When Agni pervades the iron, or when the fire principle pervades the iron ball, the invisible iron ball becomes the visible iron ball. It not only becomes visible because of Agni Vyapti, but if we touch the iron ball, the heat will burn us. So, the existence of Dahaka Shakti is also because of the pervasion of Agni. But do we see the Agni separately? No. Agni seems to be the intrinsic nature of the iron ball, but it is only because of the Agni Tattvam. Similarly, the mind is known because of the pervasion of Chaitanyam. The world is also known because of the Chaitanyam alone. Everywhere, Brahman is there. Next slide, sir. We are coming to verse 63. Here, Shankaracharya points out the peculiar relationship between Satyam and Mithya. For example, the relation between the rope and the snake. Next slide. When we want to reveal the rope, we say rope the Satyam is different from snake the Mithya. That is, the snake is temporary, rope is permanent. But once the rope has been revealed, we say rope is different from snake, whereas snake, the Mithya Vastu, is non-different from the rope, the Satyam. Why do we say so? Snake is not different from rope because snake does not have an existence different from the rope. Bhinna Satta Abhavat. The same is true between Karanam and Karyam because Karanam is Satyam and Karyam is Mithya. Similarly, Jagat Vilakshanam Brahma. Brahman is different from the world, whereas Brahmanaha Anyat Kinchana Na Asti. Whereas there is no world existing different from Brahman. Even in the resolution of the world, Brahman continues, but there is no world existing different from Brahman. Brahma Anyat Bhati Chet. If we experience a world something different from Brahman, it is Mithya. Next slide, sir. Like Yatha Maru Marichika. In place of pirage water in a desert, there is only dry land or dry sand. There is not even a single drop of water. And if we see some water, it is Indrajalam or Maya Jalam. And it is Maru Marichika Mithya. Next slide, sir. We'll be studying the next set of verses from 64 to 68 in today's class. Before that, I request Dr. Thima Pegde sir to give us a brief introduction to the day's session. Pegde sir, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venkatesh Prasad sir, for an excellent recap as always and wonderful chanting. Each time you begin the chanting, it is so wonderful to hear you. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Today is a big day for all of us students of Atma Bodha because we come to the conclusion of the study of one text which has really opened our eyes in so many ways. Atma Bodha is a Prakarana Grantha by Adi Shankaracharya. We already know the meaning of the word Prakarana Grantha. A Prakarana Grantha is a kind of a supporting text to help us to understand the main source of Vedanta, the Upanishads. Atma Bodha has got 68 relatively simple verses, but trying to explain in a poetic form the essence of all Vedanta. And just like the Bhagavad Gita, the meter is called Anustup Chandas. What are the unique features of Atma Bodha? The unique features of Atma Bodha are the fundamental ideas of Vedanta. So Vedanta has got some main points. Those are very beautifully brought out. There are some areas which make Atma Bodha an advanced text compared to Tattva Bodha. So there are areas where advanced topics are also touched with. And the unique feature or the wonderful feature of Atma Bodha, in addition to its beautiful poetry, is that almost every verse has a very relevant and a beautiful example. As I said, we have come to the conclusion, and somebody uses the word Atma Bodha. We should be knowing the meaning of it and the whole significance of the word Atma Bodha. The Atma means our very nature. Our very nature in Sanskrit is called Swarupam. The word Ap means that which pervades. Apnoti iti Atma. Atma is that which is all pervasive. You will remember that favorite verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Mai sarvam idam prottam sutre manigana eva. I pervade everything in an invisible manner, just like the string which supports all the beads in a mala. So too, Atma is that which is all pervasive. Now, even our own body, even the whole world around, including the space between me and you and the furniture and everything, is pervaded by that entity, that essence, just like the essence of all pots is clay, the essence of all furniture made of wood is wood, and so on. Atma is the essence of our physical body, the essence of the world, and so on. So that is the meaning of Atma. Atma means my true nature. Atma also means Brahman. Brahman, when you see from the context of the whole, we call it Brahman. When you see the context of our individual, we call it as Atma. Now let us come into the word Bodha. Bodha means knowledge. Now you have a little problem in people who go into the nitty-gritty, because Atma is also of the nature of knowledge, because Atma is consciousness in essence. So Atma is awareness. Bodha is also knowledge and awareness. So when you bring these two words together, it has a feeling of knowledge. So then we need to be able to dissect between what is the significance of knowledge in Atma, what is the significance of knowledge in Bodha. And if this is understood, we will make a big revolution of our own understanding of what is Atma Bodha. We will first go to the Atma in Atma Bodha. It is of the nature of awareness. It is something which is eternal, which is all pervading. And this is what is called Samanya Jnanam. So all of us have two kinds of knowledge. One knowledge is called Samanya Jnanam. That means if I don't use my mind, if I don't focus on any object, I still have that awareness that I am. I'm very aware of all my surroundings, even though I'm not focusing on any particular object at any time. That is what is called Samanya Jnanam. On the other hand, it is not a knowledge of any particular object. It is not because I see something. If I see a particular object, then I get an objective knowledge. This Samanya Jnanam is also called Swarupa Jnanam. It is present in all living beings, and it is called Ajanya Jnanam. That means that which is not born, that which is intrinsic, that which is very natural, Ajanya Jnanam or Swarupa Jnanam. Now remember these technical terms, because you also have Janya Jnanam. You have Ajanya Jnanam. Then now supposing I want to know about Atma Bodha, what is this Atma Bodha all about? And I come and ask you, and I focus on the text Atma Bodha. That knowledge that we have got about these 68 verses is called Janya Jnana, born knowledge. That means I have gone through the Guru and Shastra and have studied Atma Bodha. I have got a newer knowledge and a newer perspective of all this compared to a person who never knows nothing about Atma Bodha. He also has got Atma And he has got a certain jnanam that is called samanya jnanam. So we should know what is this samanya jnanam and vishesha jnanam. Now, bodha here means this knowledge of Atma Bodha means Vishesha Jnanam. It means a very specific knowledge. It is a born knowledge, born when I use my mind and my sense organs on a particular object. It could be even this very text that I'm studying. And when I study Atma Bodha word by word with the help of the Guru and all my colleagues, that is called Janya Jnanam of Atma Bodha. Compared to the Ajanya Jnanam or Swarupa Jnanam, which is eternal knowledge. This is not eternal knowledge. Until a few months ago, many of us, or even I, had very little or no knowledge of what is this Atma Bodha. We only knew there was a text by Adi Shankara, but we did not know the beauty of this text until we have gone through it verse by verse. So, what is Janya Jnanam? That means a born knowledge. When you go through a process of learning, a certain knowledge is born in your mind. That knowledge is called Janya Jnanam. And that is the meaning of the second word, Bodha, in Atma Bodha. Now, let us see how knowledge happens. Now, all of us have consciousness. That consciousness is always there. It is there in our deep sleep also when the mind is not functioning. The moment we wake up, the mind wakes up and the mind enlivens all our sense organs. That means through my eyes and my ears and all the sense organs, I get a lot of information coming to my head. Now, when I see a wall in front of me, now a thought arises in my head, that is a wall. This is a computer. This is a camera. This is my mobile telephone. So all these knowledge are in Sanskrit are called vritti. So idam vritti, this thought, this thought, this thought, we get so many thoughts in that. And all these thoughts are called vritti related to the wall, relating to the object of my experience. Now, the moment a certain thought is born in my head, that means I have got a wall knowledge. There is a wall in front of me. I am seeing it through my eyes, and my mind tells me that is a wall. Now, this knowledge, what has happened? Because the consciousness, the Parabrahma, Paramatma, which we know as consciousness, functioning through my mind, focusing on that wall, has now become seemingly limited. That which was limitless now has become a limited thought among the various thoughts in my mind that there is a wall in front of me. Now, this is Janya Jnanam of the wall and various objects in front of me. Now, for example, the usual example is given of a pot. I see a pot and a pot knowledge has come. Now, so there are two kinds of knowledge. One is Swarupa Jnanam, which is also called Samanya Jnanam. And the other is called Vishesha Jnanam or Janya Jnanam. That means relative to a particular object. All of us from the very beginning have got Samanya Jnanam. We have awareness in us. Even though there is awareness, we continue to be samsaris. We continue to suffer in this world. We don't have a sense of, I am a free person. Why? I do not have this Vishesha Jnanam about I am that Atma. I hope you're able to understand. Atma is there in me, in all of us, but I do not know my true nature. I do not know the greatness of that Atma. I do not know how knowledge of that Atma can give me so much of joy, so much of peace, and so much of security. So, what we are trying to say is that merely possessing Swarupa Jnanam is of no use. I mean, it is of use, it is helplessly there. The whole purpose of our life is that we should get specific knowledge. We should get Vishesha Jnanam about this Samanya Jnanam. Got it? Samanya Jnanam we all have. We all know that I am a conscious being. What is this conscious being? That knowledge about that conscious being, that this is of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, this is limitless, and so on. That knowledge about my true nature, That is called Vishesha Jnanam or Janya Jnanam. To repeat the same thing, all we need to know is about my true nature. For example, I don't need much to know that I am. I am, we all know. In a way, I said 66% we are all enlightened. But what I do not know is I am Ananda. I am limitless. Because this knowledge comes through my mind, I have a feeling of limitations and I suffer from limitations. What I do not know, and when I go to Guru and Shastra, they say that same consciousness in me is of the nature of Nityaha. It is Nityaha means eternal. It is Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha, Anantaha, and so on. Which means as long as I identify with my body mind, which I tend to do, I experience limitations. But all our training is to disidentify with my body mind, see that only as an instrument through which I interact with the world, and claim my true nature as Atma. That is the whole purpose of Vedanta. So, what we need is a subjective knowledge about my true nature, and this is what is called Atma Bodha. This Atma Bodha or the knowledge of Atma does not happen spontaneously. All of us who are in this satsang, who are listening to this talk, are making an effort. We are giving up something else to spend this time in the presence of in a teaching environment, where through the help of the Guru and these scriptural texts, this Prakarana Grantha, we get to know that I am not an ordinary person, but there is something of the extraordinary in me. In conclusion, let us be clear what is our goal and what is our means. Our goal is I want peace, security, and happiness. I want limitless peace, security, and happiness. What is the means? Our means are, of course, Guru and Shastra. When I do not know my true nature, then I have what is called Ajnanam about my true nature. Ajnanam means I have ignorance about my true nature. Ajnanam by itself is not a problem. For example, in deep sleep, all of us don't know anything. Small babies don't know anything, but they are blissfully ignorant. But the problem is, I am not, I have incomplete knowledge. I know I am, but I do not know who I am. And because of this partial knowledge I have what is called adhyasa. Adhyasa means I make an error. That I am full, that I am complete, I do not know. There is a sense of apurnatvam. Whenever there is a sense of limitation, then there is an effort to remove that limitations. Then comes karma. If karma is not fulfilled, then there is krodha. Now, the whole treatment for the problem is ignorance. The solution is knowledge. And what knowledge? Atma Bodha. So the whole aim of Atma Bodha is that I should get this knowledge somehow to know I am Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. In conclusion, I will dwell on these 5 capsules of Swamiji so that it comes into our mind again and again. And this is the aim of Atma Bodha. In today's class, we are concluding this study, and let this remain in our head. I am not this body, but I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness. Although I am a mixture of body-mind, I am trained by my Guru and Shastras to say the body-mind is only an instrument. Disidentify from the body-mind, identify from the Atma, and this Atma has been there from the very beginning. It will be there till the very end. It is of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness. By my mere presence, I don't have to do anything. By my mere presence, that means as Atma, I enliven this body, and through this body, I'm able to experience this universe. As Atma, I am not affected by anything that happens to this material world or even to this body. Even though I am not able to express through this body, as Atma, nothing ever happens to me. And I am also told I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. Any other happiness that I have is not permanent, and it is only a reflected glory. So what is our sadhana? This is something I need to remember all the time. Because if I remember all this time, you will hear in this class today about Nandati, Nandati, Anandati Eva. If I'm able to remember this, my life is going to be all joy. If I forget this, and whenever I forget this, my life is going to be that of samsara. This is the essence of Atma. Today's opening verse, verse 64, will be explained to us by Dr. Ravi Shankar. Dr. Ravi Shankar, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Drishyate Shruyate Yadyad Brahmanonanya Tad Bhavet Tattva Jnanancha Tad Brahma Satchit Ananda Madvayam. This is the 64th verse. As we move on to the next slide, we understand that Brahman is everywhere. And anything that we experience is different from Brahman, and that is Mithya. The purpose of the 64th verse, even after we have understood the recap of the previous verses, is to highlight the Mithyathvam. Brahman is everywhere is a conviction that we should have. And when we have this conviction, it is a jnana drishti. And the jnana phalam is also being discussed in these following verses. In the next slide, we understand the verse as whatever is seen, yadyad drishyate, whatever is heard, yadyad shruyate, all of them in the sense, whatever is experienced, tad brahmana anyat na bhavet. It is not possible to experience any of these things with our senses, the five of them that we have, without the presence of Brahman or as separate from Brahman. So the existence of each of these experiences belongs to Brahman. Without the consciousness principle, there is no experience. Yatha mrid satyaya ghata satvavan. And so we see in this, the potter who makes these pots, various sizes and shapes, various nama rupa of pot, and we think of the different types and sizes and shapes of the pot. The pots break and the pots appear and disappear, and we forget that the pot's existence is borrowed from the primary existence of the clay. As we move on to the next slide, the Purva Pakshi says, I see all these Nama Rupas, I see them as though they are different from Brahman, so I am not able to comprehend. And so Adi Shankaracharya says, if you see many, it is Ajnanam. Yatra Ajnanam Tatra Ghata Drishtaha. Yatra Jnanam Tatra Mrida Drishtaha. When we have Ajnanam, we see several Nama Rupa of pots. But when we have Jnanam, we don't see the pots, but we see what is the essence of the pot, and that is the clay, the Mrida. Yatra hi Dvaitam iva bhavati. When there is Dvaita, when we have two and not one, Tatra itara itara itaram pashyati. You see many, many, many things. And itara itarati shrunoti. You listen to many things. And we extrapolate it into yatra ajnanam tatra jagat drishtiti. When there is ajnanam, whatever we see with our senses and hear with our senses and experience with our senses, with the superimposition of adhyasa, is the jagat with all its sukha dukkha. Yatra jnanam tatra brahma drishtati. When there is jnanam, this jnana phalam is no dukkha, but only nandati, nandati, nandati eva. In the next slide, we understand that a tattva jnani, when he has the jnana of this tattva, he would understand this as yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva abhudat vijanata, as in the Ishavasya. Brahmaiva Vedam Vishayam Idam Varishtham, as in Atma Bodha. Purusha evedagam idam sarvam yad bhutam yast bhavyam utamritas yasyeshanaha, as in the Purusha Sukta of the Rig Veda. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, as we have known in the Bhagavad Gita. And Matstani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshvavastitaha, as also in the Bhagavad Gita. All the essence of the Jnani's understanding of this world is Atma Eva Asti. In the next slide, we see that Yat Purvam Jagat Asit, Yat Purvam Sarpa Asit, Tadeva Vastu Idanim Rajju, Yat Purvam Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyet Brahmamayam Jagat. What was the world earlier? Yat Purvam Jagat Asit. What was the world earlier? And similarly, what looked as the serpent or the snake earlier, Tadeva Vastu, that same Vastu has now become the Rajju, the rope. And whatever was understood as the world because of the Jnanam, the Jnana Phalam, is, we see this Jagat as Brahmamaya Jagat. What was earlier in the form of the world, the same world has now become Brahman. We move on. And then the question arises, did this world suddenly change into Brahman because of the Jnana? Did this snake suddenly change into rope because of the Jnana? And Adi Shankaracharya says that this change is not outside, but the Sarpa Buddhi or the Brahma Buddhi is replaced by Prama Buddhi. What is Prama Buddhi? I am is a conviction. This is the book of Atma Bodha is a conviction. This is a pot is a conviction. So this Brahma Buddhi is a conviction, and that is called as Prama Buddhi. The Jagat Buddhi being replaced by Brahma Buddhi is removal of that Bhranti. In the next slide, we see that this true nature of Brahman is nothing other than Sat Chit Anandam Advayam. There are no two, but there is only one, and that is in the nature of Ananda Swarupam, Sat Chit Ananda Swarupam. Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi Shankar, for a very nice explanation of this verse with a lot of quotations from the Upanishads and from the Bhagavad Gita. I will go back to one of the quotes that you made about Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno. This is a simple prayer that we chant every time we eat food, but this is what we need to take home after studying Atma Bodha. We learned in the Vishwarupa Ishvara preparation that all we need is Divya Chakshu to be able to change the perspective with which I see myself, change the perspective with which I see the world. And when I am able to change my perspective through knowledge, when I see Brahman and Brahman alone. If that is not there, then I may be seeing Brahman Sakshat in front of me, as Sri Krishna, the 15th chapter, laments, Vimudhaya Nanu Pashyanti. You know, he's opening his eyes and he's seeing, but he is not able to see. Blessed are we to our Guru and Shastra who have helped us to open these eyes. And from now on, after the study of Atma Bodha, all we need is to meditate on whatever I see and experience is not other than me. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. The next verse, and a similar verse, will be explained to us by Dr. Manjula Devi. Dr. Manjula Devi, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Verse 65. Sarvagam sajitadatmanam jnana chakshu nirikshate ajnana chakshur niksheta bhasvatam bhanumantavat. Sarvagam sachidan anandam. Though Atman is of nature of pure consciousness and all-pervading, Jnana Chakshu Nirikshate. Yet it can be perceived only by the eyes of wisdom. Bhasvatam Bhanum Andavat. Just as the blind does not see the resplendent sun, Ajnana Chakshu Na Ikshate. So too, One whose vision is obscured by ignorance does not see the self. Next slide, sir. Though Atman is reality and consciousness and ever present everywhere, yet it is perceived by the eye of wisdom alone. But one whose vision is obscured by ignorance does not see the radiant Atman, as the blind do not see the resplendent sun. So the analogy over here is given to a blind person who is completely blind in his vision to see the effulgent sun. Next slide, sir. So when we say blind and the blazing sun, here it describes a situation where someone is completely unaware of a significant, powerful, and an even overwhelming reality, often due to lack of perception or an understanding, much like a blind person who is unable to see the intense light of the sun. Blind and the blazing sun highlights the disconnect between the person's perception and the reality around them. When we say Ajnana Chakshu, it is the eye of ignorance. Here, blind, Ajnana, signifies the lack of awareness or knowledge, suggesting that the person is oblivious to the important situation unfolding in front of them. The blazing sun or the overwhelming force is symbolizing by the powerful or intense force that is easily noticeable to those who can see it, but completely missed by a person who is blind to it. Next slide, sir. So to understand this, the BMI chart by Chinmayananda ji is very useful over here. So here we see Om that indicates our real nature, the consciousness. The vasanas are innate urges and past tendencies, are desires in a seed form. The BMI, the body, mind, and intellect are the instruments of experiences through which life expresses itself in universe and we respond. The OET, which is in the downline, is the objects, emotions, and thoughts. These constitute the world of things and beings, which in totality makes the field of experience. Through body, we experience world of thoughts. Through mind, we experience world of emotions. Through intellect, we experience world of thoughts. So the BMI is instrument of experience, whereas OET is the world of experience. Then what is this PFT? The PFT is the experiencer or the individual or the ego. So identify with body, I become a perceiver, experiencing the world of objects. Identified with mind, I become the feeler, experiencing the world of emotions. Identified with intellect, I become a thinker, experiencing the world of thoughts. What is this vasanas? Why is it giving conditioned experience? Why do people do what they do? Why doesn't everyone behave the same and think the same? In a given circumstances, why do people react differently? The answer is repeated past experiences build strong impressions in our personality. These impressions dictate how people interpret and respond to the world. Everyone has their unique set of vasanas. Each individual, that is a PFT, due to ignorance as well as the vasanas, is seeking permanent happiness amidst the temporary objects, emotions, and thoughts through the body, mind, and intellect. So this is total ajnanam. This is the eye of ignorance. The secret is to reduce this pressure from vasanas and destroy the ignorance through self-knowledge. And that is the way to experience the permanent happiness. Next slide, sir. So what is this Jnana Chakshu? Ajnana Chakshu was eye of ignorance. Jnana Chakshu is eye of wisdom. This is the eye which sees the supreme reality, the Brahman, the Atman, the self, the consciousness, which is the ultimate truth. This Brahman is the divine principle by whose mere presence the body perceives, the mind feels, and the intellect thinks. The self has no expression and is something other than the BMI. It's a life principle that enlivens the BMI, is changeless, and therefore the substratum for all changes. The self is also Satchit Ananda, its ever existence, lends existence to anything in the universe. It's a pure consciousness that is witness to all our experiences. It's the nature of Ananda, the happiness, which is our true nature. Next slide, sir. Even in Bhagavad Gita, verse 269, the shloka goes like this. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato muniha. For common man, the self state appears like night because he can see nothing beyond senses and the sense world. What is day and wakefulness for him is nothing but functioning of the senses and the material world. But for a jnani or a yogi, who is in the light of Atma, the senses and the sense organs do not exist. He is fully wakeful in the experience of the self. Next slide, sir. So, Sarvagam Sachidatmanam, so seen by a Jnana Chakshu, who has opened his third eye. How has he opened his third eye? He has integrated and is insightful on things. The eye of wisdom is gained through the integration of both the head and the heart. So, develop an inner devotion of heart and inquiry by the head, and put the head and heart together. An intuitive faculty arises that leads us to a study, contemplation, and ultimately I come to know the truth. So through the self-knowledge, I need to transcend, and this is helped by both sadhana and satsang. Sadhana is important for spiritual progress because here you develop single-pointed mind, purification of mind, and which helps us in our study, and we realize that I am the higher self. It's something like waking a dreamer from his dream. With satsanga, there's devotion, there's discipline, there's discrimination, and a dispassion that happens. Inquiry of who am I often occurs, and the mind turned inwards. In conclusion, the direct experience of Brahman is the goal of all spiritual seekers, and Jnani obtains it by long and continuous absorption into reality. Total rejection of the sense world can only open the vision of the Supreme, which is the Jnana Chakshu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manjula, for a very nice explanation of this verse, which is very similar to the one that was explained by Dr. Ravi Shankar. Whatever I see is Brahman, and I need to have that Jnana Chakshu. And she rightly said two important sadhanas. The sadhana, now that we have studied Atma Bodha, is the sadhana of Nidhidhyasanam. And of course, through satsanga, satsangatve Nisangatvam, so that I am able, from the time I awake in the morning, when I put my foot on the ground, my feet is resting on Brahman, and whatever I experience is none other than Brahman. Dr. Sundar will explain the next verse. Dr. Sundar, please.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So we are in the concluding session. This text beautifully started with an introduction. Then there was a segment that dealt with Adhyasa and Tat Padartha Vichara. Another segment that dealt with Upadhi and Tvam Padartha Vichara. The text then moved to a Aikyam between Tat and Tvam, Jiva Paramatma Aikyam, through Sravanam, Mananam and Nidhidhyasanam. So at about the 40th verse, once all this is done, the next nearly 30 verses deal only with Jnanaphalam, Jiva Videha Mukti, Jnana Nishta, and of course Falashruti. So we are now in that segment which is dealing with Jnanaphalam, verses which deal with the celebration, having reached the pinnacle of human purpose and life. So this verse, Shravanadibihi Udipta, Jnanagni Paritaptaha, Jivaha Sarvamalat Muktaha, Swarnavat Jyoyate Swayam. This is after we have done the Padacheda. At the simplest form, this shloka, this verse will be Jivaha Jyoyate. Jiva shines. Jivaha Swarnavat Swayam Dhoyate. So a Jiva, like gold, on its own shines. That is the simplest form of this verse. Then there are three preconditions set for this shining like gold on its own, as said by three Kridantas. So the first of which is Muktaha Sarva Malat, having been freed from all the impurities. And then the second precondition is Shravanadibihi Udipta, having been kindled, having been ignited, having been lit by Shravana Manana Nidhidhyasanam. And the final precondition is Jnanagni Paritapitaha, having been roasted or burnt by the fire of knowledge. So when does a Jivaha who becomes Jivan Muktaha and shine on his own like gold? It is when he is freed from all impurities, then lit, ignited by Sravanam, Mananam and Nidhidhyasanam, and roasted by the fire of knowledge. That is what the verse says. As we shall see in this next slide, what is the vision of a Jivan Mukta? What is his nature? How is Adi Shankaracharya using the Drishtanta in this verse to convey this? So on the left hand side, we see an iron ore, and on the right hand side is purified gold. So what is the transformation that has happened when a seeker has attained Brahmatvam from his earlier Jiva Swarupaha? So we see that there are multiple impurities in the iron ore which are removed through a process, and one attains to the final product, which is gold. So through this Drishtanta, Adi Shankaracharya is telling us that several impurities, Mala, Avarana, Vikshepaha, when they are removed, one becomes Brahman. In this next slide, let us see what is the process to shine in this manner in the gold Drishtanta. So there are several steps that goes about in a ore becoming gold. In the same manner, through karma upasana yoga, there is mala and vikshepa nivritti, and through shravana mananam, there is ajnana and samshaya nivritti, and finally through the culmination of all this at nidhidhyasanam, there is viparyaya or vasana nivritti. So therefore, just like the gold comes out of the ore by removal of what is not required, ordinary man becomes extraordinary through these several steps, and he shines. In this next slide is an interesting fact which Puja Swami Parvarthananda draws us to. Does the process of this conversion involve adding or it is removing? The Drishtanta is so good that Adi Shankaracharya uses. The word Swayam gives the clue that the purity is already contained within. The structure comes by just chiseling and removing all what is not required. So gold ore minus impurities is gold. So to Jivaha, the very same Jivaha for whom the world, what we eat, what we do, everything remains the same. But what has happened is through gradual process of sadhanas, by climbing up the spiritual ladder, the seeker drops mala, avarana, vikshepa and attains to Brahman, which he always was, just as the gold was always within the ore. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sundar. As always, very nicely explained and a nice analysis of these verses. And good news is we are already that which we can possibly be. I want you to remember this. We are already that which we can possibly be. But what we have to go through that purification process, which is used by a very strong word called being roasted. Why? What is that roasting that is required? There is a nice word called ego. What is ego? Edging God out. The more I am full of myself, I will not be able to allow the divine to express through me. If this impurity called the ego, which comes from a limited idea of myself, the sense of limitation, if that can be roasted, then Purnamada Purnamidam. Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra will explain the next verse.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the introduction to my verse, which is the verse 67, I am giving a bit of a background. A Jnani or a Jivan Mukta sees this world with a very different vision. And what is his vision? Nandati, Nandati, Nandani Eva. Nandati Eva, which means he sees Anandam everywhere, in everything in his world and his life. His vision becomes effulgent like gold, and he shines like a gold. On the other hand, as a sansari who sees opposite of everything, his mind is filled with the kleshas, and dukkha, which is probably a representative of the kleshas. The mind of a Jivan Mukta has kindled the fire of jnana after obtaining the qualification to karma yoga. His life is now roasted in this fire, and he melts all his impurities, all his obstacles, which were also called as pratibandhas, are removed, and he's ready to be shining all the time. Next slide, please. My verse goes like this: Hridaya kasho adito hyatma bodha ma bhanu stamo prahata sarvavyapi sarvadhari dhari bhati bhasayate akhilam. Atman, which is the sun of knowledge, arises in the firmament of the heart and destroys the darkness. The pervade of all and the sustainer of all, it illumines all and also itself. Next slide, please. For the Atma Surya, or the effulgence of his own Atma, has now arisen in the heart of a Jivan Mukta, which is called as Atma Bhanu. Although as the sun is always there but disappears due to the arrival of night, as the earth goes on the other side, that sun which was not available to the jiva for understanding is now available, which means that Atma is always there. Is it the Atma only which is giving you the effulgence, but we don't know our real nature. And once he realizes that Atma is now effulging out, Hridaya Kasha Udita Atma. Atma has risen in the Hridaya Akasha of a Jnani, and his night of ignorance is gone. Now, what is this night of ignorance? That night represents the Tamoguna. His Tamoguna is gone. The last word is Tamo. Tamo Uprahata. Bodha Bhanu. It is the sun of awareness, which is Swarupa Chaitanyam. This Surya never sets. Next slide, please. The Bodha which now comes is Sarvavyapi, all-pervasive, Sarvadhari, which means it is Vishwadharanam, is the sustainer of all. The Atma which shines by itself, effulgent, shines everything as well, which is Akhilam Bhasayate Cha. As one sun illumines the entire universe, so the Atma illumines the whole Kshetra. With this, Jivan Mukta vision is completed. Videha Mukti is talked about, and Jnana Phalam topic is also over. Now, what is the, and of course, you have reached a point of Jiva Brahma Aikyam, which has been talked about. The next verse will talk about what is left, which is Falashruti. Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ramaji will explain the final verse. Dr. Ramaji, please.
Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The shloka 68 is the Phalashruti shloka, which explains the benefits that one gets for having studied this text. And the shloka says, Dikdesha kala dhyanapekshya sarvagam shitadihrun nitya sukham niranjanam yat swatma tirtham bhajate vinishkriyaha sa sarvavit sarvagato amruto bhavet. And the translation says that Paramahamsa, who giving up all actions and not having any regard for the limitations of direction, place, time, and the like, worship his own Atma, which is all pervading, which destroys cold and the like, which is bliss, eternal and stainless, becomes all-knowing and all-pervading, attains thereafter immortal. Change of meter from Manushtup to Indra Vajra is in this shloka signals the change in the topic, and thus the glorious text also concludes. The next slide briefs the stages of spiritual journey of a sadhaka. Dikdesha kala dhyanapeksha. Transcending all limitations are the upadhis like time, space, and causation, which restrict the jivas to samsara. They are because of maya. Shitadihrut, overcoming all pairs of opposites. To gain mastery over the various kinds of afflictions, mental or physical, experienced through body-mind complex. Vinishkriyaha, renunciation of all activities. His sanchita karmas are burnt by Gnanagni. He prevents agami karmas and does karmas only to exhaust his prarabdha karmas. He renounces the result of action like a karma yogi and gets gnana yogyata. From this stage till the dawn of the knowledge, practice of Sravanam, Mananam and Nidhidhyasanam is necessary till the realization is achieved. To the aspirant, it is a step towards equanimity of mind, whereas to the dawned, equanimity of mind is the means for realization. Thus, nishkama karmas lead to gnana, which brings on the realization and the final liberation. According to scriptures, this is possible only to sannyasis and not householders. But Jnanis like Vyasa, Janaka apparently appear to be householders with the relative attachment to the worldly transactions. They had gained qualifications to acquire spiritual wisdom in their previous janmas through sannyasa. The means of liberation gained in one life continues to benefit in the janmas to follow. In the next slide, we see the features of destination to be reached. It is sarvagam, becomes omniscient. One person becomes, the sadhaka becomes omniscient, and it is nitya sukham, bestows happiness, always blissful, regardless of any form of disturbances. Niranjanam purifies the mind to a stainless state, cleanses the mind beyond the influence of trigunas, attains chitta shuddhi and chitta ekagrata. Sarvagataha, it is all pervading. One realizes the boundless nature of the self. It is amrutaha, attains immortality hereafter. One is no longer identifies with the body, mind, etc., which have a limited existence from birth to death. Instead, identifies with the eternal self. The next slide focuses on the greatness of Atma Jnanam, termed as Swatma Tirtham by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Atma is compared to a tirtham like the river Ganga. Tirthayati punati sarvan iti tirtham, that which purifies, sanctifies, cleanses. Self is the great tirtha or the shrine which helps one to cross the ocean of worldly bondages. It is within an individual and does not involve travel. Unlike the other tirthas, a dip in this tirtham cleanses the papa punyas permanently, removes ignorance, confers immortality, eternal bliss. After having the prarabdha karmas exhausted, the sadhaka is absorbed in the infinite Brahman. The next slide details more about this Atma Jnanam. By virtue of serenity, by virtue of serenity, even a moment, attained through the knowledge of the self, the sadhaka attains the merit that one may obtain by bathing in the rivers of all the holy rivers. The best and the final dip or merging is the Atma Praptihi, which destroys the repeated transmigration, and thus one attains liberation. So all of us have to take the final dip and be liberated. By the very birth of such a seeker, whose mind is absorbed in the Supreme Brahman, his family becomes sinless, his parents blessed forever, and the earth sacred. An extract from epic Mahabharata describes Atman as the real sacred river, bathing in which the jivas become free of impurities. Sage Vyasa advises the son of Pandu. This river of Atman is filled with water of self-control. Truth is its current, righteous conduct is its banks, and compassion its waves. O son of Pandu, bathe in its sacred water. Ordinary water does not purify the innermost self. Thus concludes Atma Bodha, the great Prakarana Grantham of Sri Adi Shankaracharya, explaining the basic concepts of Vedanta very clearly, studded with numerous striking similes to help us to visualize these abstract concepts. Harihi Om, Namaste, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Ramaji, for a nice explanation of this concluding verse. And with this verse, we have completed the 68 verses of the great text Atma Bodha. We are not going to end with this. We thought this text being so important, and we realized the greatness of the text only by going through it. For the next 1 month, that is in the next 4 classes, the whole of Atma Bodha will be divided into 8 topics, and 2 topics will be covered in each class, 2 topics, and that is how the plan of a revision of Atma Bodha. So my request for all of you is spend the next 1 month revising this wonderful text so that we have Bodha about our true knowledge, about our true self. I am Atma, but I do not know I am. Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha, Shivaha, Shivoham, Shivaswarupaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you, Hegde sir, and all speakers of the day for a wonderful session. With today's session, we have concluded study of Atma Bodha text. We will have brief revision of the next text in the next 4 sessions. Thank you, friends, for your continued support and invaluable feedback. Coming Monday, on 21st of March 2025, let's tune in for session 72 of GIFT 6:45 at 6:45 p.m. and study verses 6 to 10 of 13th chapter. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.